Man, that game last night really sucked.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the World Series champion Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering this team for 11 seasons, including all 6 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, before we get into this absolute blowout and some larger concerns about this team with the offensive struggles long term, this episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. From brake parts to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to bring home that big win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Now, in case you didn't stay up late to watch the Rangers face off against the Dodgers, you were right. You were right to do so. Get your sleep. Get those Z's. Because this contest was no contest. And the Rangers going down 3-0 in the first inning, and that's all they'd need. That's all the runs that the Dodgers would need to beat the Rangers in this Tuesday night game. But they added on 12 more runs throughout the contest just for good measure. I mean, to tell you how bad the game was, in the post-game press conference, Bruce Bochy said, quote, "Sorry to put y'all through that." It's not very often that you get to see a manager apologize to the beat writers for having to watch a game. That's what kind of a beatdown this was. It was a curb stomping. It was a butt kicking. It was a public tarring and feathering and flogging, and it was just as bad. No, it was honestly worse than the 15-2 final score really looks. I mean, this was just an absolute awful stinker of a game. And honestly, if you're going to have an absolute awful stinker of a game, letting the fans know early. I mean, it was 6-0 or 6-1, excuse me, after 4 innings. You said, okay, that's probably enough. I can probably go to bed or switch it off or go do something else. And all the Dodgers did from that point on was, add another 9 runs, including 7 in the 6th inning. I mean, this Rangers team, once it was 3 runs, that feels like an insurmountable lead for an insurmountable comeback for this offense. I mean, it was just awful. It was just an absolute awful travesty of a game where the Rangers still didn't have Corey Seager in this game. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. He's trending upward, but it's been a week, and it was supposed to be couple of days. Maybe he might need a day, was the quote after he left that game on Wednesday with the slight tightness in his left hamstring. Oh, we're so confident we're not even going to get an MRI. Why not? Why wouldn't you get an MRI for Corey Seager, who has already had hamstring issues? And adding Corey Seager back into this lineup, he's not adding 13 runs on his offense on his own in one game. He's not. But you look up and down this lineup, and this was just an absolutely horrific showing yet again. It's not the first time. It's not going to be the last time this year. But just up and down this lineup, there is just absolutely nothing going. And as much as I want to bemoan and scream and rip my hair out about Robbie Grossman, the 2-hole hitter, he's the only one on this team that had multiple hits in that game. So at least Robbie Grossman is doing his job. And if that's what you're saying about this offense, 2-hole hitter DH Robbie Grossman had a multi-hit day. That's the offensive highlight? Who you're facing? Are you facing peak Sandy Koufax? Peak Clayton Kershaw? Peak Nolan Ryan? No. Facing off against Paxton, who has been fine this year. James Paxton's been a decent player. But you throw any lefty out in front of this Rangers lineup, and they just turn into the worst offense you've ever seen. It's not hard. How to beat this lineup? Throw out a lefty. Heck, sometimes throw out a righty. Heck, just throw out somebody. Because this offense just cannot hit at all this year. It's been awful. And it's not just one player. It's just a collective stinker of everybody in this offense is on right now. I mean, it's just absolutely miserable to watch, and it's antithetical to who the Rangers are as a team, as a franchise, as a history, as a team that just won the World Series not 7 months ago, maybe a little more than 7 months ago, 7 months and 11 days ago. This was a team that out-hit their problems all year last year. And what did they do? They lost one bat, Mitch Garver, who was not doing great this year. And it's the same lineup. It's the same lineup as last year. And just looking at that lineup, like, what if we tried that same lineup as last year, but just nobody could hit for squat? What if we try that? I'd rather not try that. We've tried that for the whole year. And I don't know what it is with baseball in general, with the baseball specifically, whether it's deadened or not. I don't care how dead. This isn't, the 1800s where it was literally the dead ball era where there were literally no home runs. There are plenty of people hitting home runs. I mean, there are about, 1,737 home runs hit by the Dodgers in this one, just in the sixth inning. My math might be a smidge off, but it's not like it's physically impossible for anyone to hit. Simeon's hit decently this year. Not great, but decently. Corey Seager started off slow, but he's hitting like his normal Seager self. And, well, other than that, there's just not much going offensively for this team. I mean, including Adolis Garcia, who has just been absolutely atrocious at the plate for the better part of 6 weeks now. He had a hot stretch. He was amazing. One of the best hitters in baseball in April. And after about 2 weeks into May, maybe even just a week into May, he's just turned into a pumpkin. And that was supposed to be your second best hitter on this team. You moved him all the way up to hitting third. But, I mean, who else are you going to put hitting third? I mean, you put him at in the 4-hole, batting cleanup, put him fifth. But it doesn't matter. There's no one else there. There's no solution. There's no magic button to press besides just hit better. And I don't know what you even say at this point. I don't know what the hitting coaches do. I don't know what kind of adjustments you make, because whatever adjustments you make, they're not working. Nothing is working for this team. Even the starting pitching that had been mostly solid got shelled in this one. Dane Dunning a little unlucky at first. I mean, that home run that gave the Dodgers a 3-run lead had a little bit of help from Wyatt Langford out there in the outfield. A .220 expected batting average on that Will Smith go-ahead 3-run homer. That would be all the offense the Dodgers would need to win this one, even though they decided to tack on some more later on. .220 expected batting average. Only a home run in 4 of 30 parks. Dodger Stadium, Fenway, Wrigley, Citi Field, and nowhere else. Heck, it almost wasn't a home run in Dodger Stadium, if not for a little bit of help from Wyatt Langford, who is still learning to play the field, but I would still rather see him learning to play the field in left field with his athleticism than Robbie Grossman. No shade to Robbie, the hitter, who did his job in this one, but the defender, still a little bit of shade. I mean, it's just mind-numbing. It makes you want to bash your head against a wall watching this offense right now. There's a good tweet by Frankie that I retweeted, Frankie Simmons. She tweeted out, the Texas Rangers offense, after they score 1 run in the early innings. It's just this gif of someone clocking out. We're done. Scored our run. That's it. That's our offense for today. We're going to go home. We might add on one more. We're already getting blown out late on, which they did. Shout out to Ezekiel Duran for his second home run of the year. An absolutely massive shot. That meant absolutely nothing, as did most of the offense in this game. Heck, Ezekiel Duran was the only one driving in runs in this game. I got to give credit to Wyatt Langford for working some good at-bats, including a walk in this one, going at first to third, getting in scoring position. The Rangers didn't have any at-bats with runners in scoring position because Zeke Duran drove in Wyatt Langford with a sac fly, but that was the only plate appearance with runners in scoring position in this game, because that's how dead this offense is. Not only because they not hit with runners in scoring, they just can't get plate appearance. They can't even get runners into scoring position to drive in those runs. It's just miserable watch right now. It is not the offense that the Rangers have ever had. This has always been a franchise that has hit. It has always been a franchise that has been able to, crank out hitters. And so far they can't crank out diddly squat. And not only is it lifeless right now, because this is your offense moving forward, it could cause some huge, huge problems for this team down the road. They said they'd be judged what they did after winning their first title. And boy howdy, there are some harsh judgments being laid on this team. Waiting for some reinforcements to come back, which they did get a little bit of good news, but I don't think they can keep waiting on those guys to come back. We're going to talk about all that and more right after this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Tax Network USA. Here at Locked On Rangers, we pride ourselves in getting you the latest news for your team. Whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs, it is year-round. But you know what else is year-round? Collection season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. With over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season that you need help correctly filing, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. See the link in the episode description below. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 5 million active users. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the PrizePicks community today. The finals mean more on PrizePicks, and so do the star players. You get boosted payouts, select basketball stars that you won't find anywhere else. Baseball season is officially underway, and there is no better way to cash in on the action than with PrizePicks. Add your favorite players from the diamond to your PrizePicks lineups all season long. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, take your pick of more or less, then add them to your PrizePicks lineup today. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Now, the Rangers offense has been quite stinky as of late, but hopefully they are getting some reinforcements back soon. 2 All-Stars on the left side of their infield that one has been out since basically the beginning of the year. One has been out for about a week now. Actually, almost exactly a week now. And both are trending in the right direction. Corey Seager was hopeful that he would be back for this game on Tuesday to face off against his former team for the first time in Dodger Stadium as a member of the Texas Rangers. He got a very, very hearty welcome, a very touching tribute video. Is very, very moved by these Dodgers fans, showing their appreciation for him. Didn't seem like there was any bad blood there about him not re-signing with the Dodgers. He got a pretty hefty deal from the Rangers that I don't think the Dodgers were willing to go anywhere close to what it would take to match that, especially given what they would have to pay in terms of how much they would have to pay more for him to make the same amount of money to stay with the Dodgers. And well, he got them their World Series. He was a World Series MVP with the Dodgers before he was a World Series MVP with the Rangers, and they still have a lot of love for Corey Seager there. He said he was frustrated to not be in the lineup on Tuesday, but that he, still feels very fondly about his teammates there, about his time there, about, going up through the Dodgers system. He credits them a lot for helping him develop as a player and into the superstar player that he is today. Said he didn't really want to talk about his not choosing to go back, which I think is fine. We've all moved on. It's fine. The Dodgers are fine. He's fine. He won a World Series with the Rangers, so obviously the Rangers are feeling fine about Corey Seager being there, but would be feeling finer if he was in this lineup. Again, he said he was trending in the right directions, hoping he could be back in the lineup on Wednesday. But again, if he's not, then he doesn't single-handedly fix this offense because they've got much bigger problems than that. The guy who's playing third base, they reached base multiple times. Shout out to Davis Wendzel. It's been a rough go for him offensively as of late. Just wanted to give him a shout out. Getting the odd start against a lefty, getting a hit, getting a walk, reaching base multiple times. It's been a rough start to Davis Winzell's Major League career. I'm still a believer that he could be a valuable utility guy moving forward. But again, the guy who normally mans third base, Josh Young, is scheduled to take batting practice today. Then we could see how he feels after taking live batting practice on Wednesday. Hopefully that means he will get a rehab assignment here in the near future. That is the goal, see how he feels after taking live BP and then get him on a rehab assignment. Hopefully he is less than 2 weeks away from returning to this lineup. Another guy who is hopefully less than 2 weeks away, we'll see what the actual timeline is for Max Scherzer. He is hopefully going to throw 70 to 75 pitches on Friday. Then he will be reevaluated to see if he joins back into the Rangers rotation. So he's going to throw again on Friday after throwing on Sunday. So that's boding well. Hopefully getting Max Scherzer back will only make this rotation stronger. I mean, not a great start from Dane Dunning. I think he might be the candidate most likely to be jettisoned from the rotation and move into the bullpen after Max Scherzer comes back into this rotation. Hopefully they will get some more reinforcements from the bullpen. Josh Sborz is throwing bullpens, not against live hitters just yet, but he's hopefully coming back. I think the target date is July 1st at this point. But again, he hasn't faced live hitters, so we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But right now, the middle of this Rangers pen is just not good enough. The underside of this bullpen, the B side, the losing side, the guys who aren't the Kirby Yateses and the David Robertsons and the Jacob Latzes, they're just not good enough at this point. They just can't keep you in games. And, well, even if they were keeping you in this game, the offense is the main problem. It is very much the main problem. But if your offense is even half decent, even they can't overcome the 15-run hole, or 13-run hole, I should say. They finished up with a minus 13 run differential in this game because Grant Anderson just got absolutely shellacked in this one. I mean, it's one of the worst bullpen performances that I've seen. Not to just pile on Grant Anderson. He absolutely didn't have it in a normal game where the Rangers, if they were a normal team that had a functioning offense that could maybe have some kind of hope of conceivably crawling back into this one. I don't think he would have been left out there to the Wolves, but that's what it was in this one. Anderson was just left out there to be absolutely shelled. And then by the time Tinoco got in there, it was too late. When you have 4 home runs in 2/3 of an inning, you can't do that. You just can't be a major leaguer and do that. And this Rangers starting rotation, the beast underside of this bullpen, with the amount of injuries that they've sustained, they've done a decent enough job getting to this point. I don't want to undersell that. Guys like Anderson, guys like Tinoco, guys like Jonathan Hernandez, these people who were not necessarily expected to be called on for a heavy workload at the major league level, but injuries have forced them into that role. And they've done, for the most part, about as well as you could expect from them. But you shouldn't be expecting much of anything. And this pen just is not good enough at this point, especially with the offense not being functional. It's not even functional at this point. It just creates some larger problems, and the Rangers can't really afford to just sit and wait for everybody to get back and get healthy. I mean, the mantra of the season has always been, just wait till those big 3 arms on the shelf come back and we get just an amazing, rotation. And everybody in our rotation is fantastic. We have Scherzer, and we have Eovaldi, and we have John Gray, and we have DeGrom, and we have Tyler Mahle. And let's see how great this rotation looks then. But we just got to hang on until then. Well, they're hanging on, and they suffered way more injuries than I thought they could sustain without being just in the absolute gutter, especially with the offense being as inconsistent and mostly bad as it's been. The fact that they're here at this point is honestly a miracle, and I don't know how much longer they can hold on. I mean, having these games, having these series, that homestand last week, it's going to go back. You're going to look back at this, especially if the Rangers probably do fall out of this race, which it's feeling like inevitable at this point. I mean, if the entirety of your offense just can't hit worth a lick, and you're pitching, even if it is great, which it has been for the most part this year, you go against the Detroit Tigers and you score 1 run, and then eventually 9 runs. You lose 2 out of 3 at Tigers at home. You should have won that series. Against the Giants, you let up 5 runs, 3 runs, 2 runs. You should take 2 out of 3 in that series. I'm not saying the Rangers should have swept both of those series, but all of those games were very winnable for this team if the offense isn't just in the absolute dredges of humanity right now, which they are. They're in a cavern. They have dug themselves into a big, big hole, and they are in a big, big hole in the division. 6.5 games back of the Mariners. They're only 1 game ahead of the Astros. The Astros, who have just been an absolute dumpster fire, and their bullpen that was supposed to be the most amazing ever. It's the most confusing division in baseball. This should have been one of the best divisions in all of baseball. It just should have been. The A's were even scrappier than anyone expected them to be. The Angels have been, well, predictably terrible. But the Mariners, Rangers, and Astros were all supposed to be amazing. And the parts of their teams that have fallen apart, at least for the Rangers and Astros, have been completely confusing. Coming up, we'll look a little bit about the long term of what these offensive problems could mean for the Rangers, and if there's any help coming at the deadline. Some trades that we didn't expect heading into this season. Right after this word from our sponsors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether in speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Now, this Rangers offense has been their biggest problem all year, but even though it was supposed to be their greatest strength. And the reason I have a lot of frustration with Major League Baseball and their decisions to either deaden or aliven the baseballs to have more or fewer home runs than whatever they're looking for, just the right amount of home runs, is that they're not honest about how often that's happening. And the reason that's difficult, they're just pretending like, oh, everyone in baseball is just collectively terrible at offense this year, which maybe pitchers are just really great this year. But that's not the case. It's not the only case that pitchers are great. Pitchers have been great for a while. But when you decide to collectively alter your product, alter the baseball, it affects the guys on the margins. It affects these guys' careers. Guys like Nathaniel Lowe, like Adolis Garcia, these guys who aren't necessarily the established superstars, guys like Leody Taveras, guys like, well, like Wyatt Langford, guys who are you're trying to evaluate how good is this player actually. And it makes that difficult to take that long-term view of, okay, is this just a down year, or is this player actually not as good as I thought? Is this just something that's wrong with the baseballs, or is this guy just been figured out? And it's hard to make those decisions. It's practically impossible to make those decisions accurately, to make those assessments accurately, if the product has been tampered with. And that's my biggest concern with the baseball being deadened, is that Major League Baseball won't just tell us that. They just pretend like, oh, all the baseballs are suddenly dying on the warning track for no reason. That's peculiar, huh? All these Major League players who know exactly what a home run feels like off the bat, pitchers who know exactly what it sounds like off the bat, they're reacting to balls that are dying on the warning tracks consistently like they're home runs. It makes it difficult to judge this sport in the long term and to make accurate assessments on these players. And the Rangers lineup, one of the things that I loved about this team coming off of that World Series run, one of the things that gave me the most confidence that this team would be successful for years and years to come, is that the lineup, which was this team's greatest strength last year by far, the depth of it, the ability to have so many guys that could hit well, it was going to be the same for at least the next 2 seasons in 2024 and 2025, because you had basically all of your lineup returning. Heim signed for another 2 seasons. Lowe is signed through 2025 as well. Adolis Garcia is the same through 2025, and I think Leote is going to be here until at least 2026, if not for a trade or demotion or whatever. But it gave you confidence that, okay, all right, and you add Evan Carter, and you add Wyatt Langford to this offense, and you see hopefully some growth from Josh Young, hopefully some growth from some of the other younger players. You hope for a bounce-back season from Nathaniel Lowe and for at least kind of continued production of what you got from Adolis Garcia. And just across the board, it's been down, 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 down. All this offense has just been down, well below anywhere near what anyone expected from them. I gave him Marcus Semien, who's been 17% better than league average in terms of his OPS plus. He's not having the best season, so it's not even him. It's not even just him. It's also Corey Seager, who had a rough start to the year, still pretty much hitting about like you'd expect for Corey Seager. But unless you're one of those superstar guys, and even some superstars this year were having down years. I mean, Adolis Garcia, Adolis Garcia, but Ronald Acuna Jr. was having a down year before he tore his ACL and was done for the year. Julio Rodriguez, his numbers have been way, way down this year compared to what anyone expected. He was one of the best players in baseball these last few years. It's not just the Rangers guys. It's been everyone around Major League Baseball. And if the ball is just going to stay dead and this is just what offense is going to be like, well, the product's going to be certainly much, much worse. But also the Rangers are going to have to start making some decisions that they didn't think they had to make. They thought, oh, this lineup is pretty much set. We don't need to go, make some trades or make any big signings. Heck, coming off of last year, heading into this year with your established outfield of Evan Carter, Leo Taveras, Adolis Garcia, and then Wyatt Langford as your DH/4th outfielder. Heck, a few years ago, I would have thought the Rangers definitely are going to be in on the Juan Soto sweepstakes, but after last year, foolishly, absolutely foolishly, giving all that hope to what rookies are going to do, I thought the Rangers don't need to go make it a play for Juan Soto. They've already got their outfield pretty well established. No, you fool. You absolute fool. Of course, any team could use a Juan Soto. The Rangers still will have to spend on pitching, though, because they have shown an inability to develop their own. But if you were able to have all of these either pre-arbitration or arbitration-eligible players that are making up your lineup that are not making that much money, it would allow you to go and spend big on the pitchers since you can't develop them on your own. But if you can't have that deep lineup that you thought you had, if you're not getting the kind of production you expected out of those rookies in Evan Carter and Wyatt Langford, and out of guys on the margins that were supposed to be good to very good hitters in Jonah Heim, Nathaniel Lowe, and Adolis Garcia, then your whole ability to compete just kind of fades away. You just can't compete with a lineup that's producing like this. And I do think these hitters are all better than this. I don't think that it's just, actually, Jonah Heim's All-Star season, that was a wash. He actually kind of sucks. No, I don't think that's the case. Nathaniel Lowe, he had one, great back half of 2022. And other than that, offensively, I don't think he's actually that good. I don't think that's true. Adolis Garcia is actually washed. I think that the league is finally caught up to him. I really don't think that's the case. I think this is just some kind of offensive just stink, just absolute mindfunk that is collective. But if you're looking for more reinforcements, I mean, from guys on the farm or future prospects that are going to come up and join this team and help, there's not a whole lot of bats that are right there on the margins that are just waiting to be in the wings to be called up, because they would have been called up already. I mean, Dustin Harris is a top 10 prospect according to MLB Pipeline, and there's a reason he hasn't really even sniffed the major leagues just yet. He's not ready. And I don't think he'd be that much of an impact if he was called up in the first place. Heck, the Rangers' most promising, most biggest breakout offensive star out of nowhere last year was Abimelech Ortiz, who had a great offensive season. But this year, he's in Double-A Frisco for the first time, and he has just been kind of rough. And the offensive numbers, the slugging numbers aren't even there. I mean, his batting average has been below 200, his on base is below 250, and he's slugging below 300 at this point. So even he, the guy who, if you're just trying to get a bat called up to absolutely rake, positions be danged, even he's not really quite ready. You look at some of the other top hitting prospects, they're mostly young guys that are still a long ways away. Guys like Sebastian Walcott, guys like Paulino Santana, guys like Jason Morabel. I mean, these guys are pretty far away. Maybe Justin Foster comes back and he gets inserted into this lineup and he provides a little bit of a spark, but it's just been absolutely poo-poo offense all season long. And I don't know what to make of it. And frankly, I'm not sure the Rangers do either. But if this continues, it is a deeply, deeply worrying trend that could spell long-term real problems for this team. Because if this Rangers offense from 2023 turns out to have been the 2015 Royals, the Rangers' hopes for winning a second championship, let alone establishing any kind of dynasty, heck, I mean, those hopes might already be as stinky as this offense is right now. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy World Series champion Texas Rangers baseball.